This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. This is a beautiful summer's morning, and we have Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley, the voice of Respectonomics, and my co-host, Sarah Benton. And from the sunny hills of the town of Blue Mountains, a warm, and it is a warm, welcome to everybody today.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. Sarah, I want to, the headline on this podcast is very straightforward. It's called Awareness. And awareness as a topic today, the reason we want to discuss it is that roughly speaking, and you see this on the roads, is probably as good an example as any, where people are unaware. And meaning they're unaware.
We see that a lot, don't we?
I'm sorry?
I said we see that a lot, don't we?
We do. And I mean, awareness is keeping your eyes peeled. I mean, there's all kinds of buzzwords that talk about it, but it's a very difficult world to be aware in because we are being bombarded so much with visuals and stimulus that is beyond what we are, frankly, what we're naturally cut out to be. So to be aware is in fact an activity. So the first thing is when somebody says, aren't you aware of something? It's another way of saying that we personally need to be responsible for the awareness. Only you and I can do it. You can't be aware for me.
Right.
You can discomfort me and say, have you thought of such and such? But the awareness starts with me. And I think we need to understand that. And secondly, we need to come to grips with, do you want to be aware? Do you want to be aware of the things that are going on and around you? Or do you want to merely to be that sort of automation, that robot that just goes from day to day? My impression is, Sarah, that a lot of people feel that their lives have become Monday through Sunday. That's all they are. And one day begets the next day, and the next day rolls into the next, and at the end of the week or thereabouts, look up and think, where in the earth have I been? So this awareness is almost a way of slowing down the clock. It's a basis for looking around us to see what we've got, what we enjoy, what other people are doing, and so on. Does that sound reasonable?
Absolutely.
Okay. So moving along. There are two ways of being aware. One is external and the other one is internal. And yet we need to do both. Now, the external awareness is my brother, who's an artist. He's retired now. He was the head of sculpture at the Royal College of Art. So his whole world is one of observation. And I remember when I was growing up, the number of times he would say, I wish I had your eyes, because I have terrific eyesight, and a lot of this stuff went straight past me, whereas he was paying attention. So literally being external is very important. And I want to give a few clues to what external means. External means looking around. We can be looking around physically. We can be looking around at people. Looking around at people, one of the great advantages of contact, face-to-face contact. We don't quite do it on a Zoom call, but we're getting close. But the truth of the matter is the best way for me to understand somebody, should we say externally, understand that individual, is to be face-to-face with them. That's why
be in their presence.
Yeah, that's why this whole business of going back to work in a physical sense is in fact part of this external awareness. And the external awareness, the more we become aware of what's going on around us, the better chance we have of understanding other people as well as understanding ourselves. It's an axiomatic equation. So if I'm going to deal with the external, I want to go through this first because it's one technique that's very valuable. And that is, we live in a world of what I call snap. You pick up your iPhone and you just start snapping furiously. You get people coming back or people on holidays. Have you noticed this? And they send you this bizarre selection of photographs of this is what we had for breakfast, this is what we had for lunch, this is what we had for dinner. And the list goes on and on. You know, In my sartorial mind, I'm thinking, actually, there's other things I'd like pictures of. But anyway, by the by, people get very, as I call it, snap with the pictures. And the problem with
Right.
snaps is they don't, in fact, do anything for you. 95% of photographs we take on our iPhones or equivalent never get looked at again. They're
Right.
not enlivening. They're not building up your sense of, your spiritual awareness or anything. At the very best, oh yeah, we were there a year ago. It's not much more than
Right.
that. So one of the most important things for external awareness is take any scene you want. We talk about this to young people who are traveling to distant lands. And we say,
Mm-hmm.
you're standing in front of this gorgeous sunset in Costa Rica. Taking a snap of it, first of all, does nothing. It'll never, it
Right.
won't bring back the moment. It won't bring back the moment. What brings back the moment is literally setting aside all the electronic gear and looking at that scene from the standpoint of saying, I want to imprint this on my memory. I
Mm-hmm.
want to
Really
look at
observing.
observing it exactly. So you look at the colors and the shades. You can look at the angles. You can look at the sounds, the smells, the environment, all of
How it
those
makes you
kinds.
feel.
Exactly. So you bring all of these points to the table. Each one of us is going to be a little bit different. You just said, how does it make me feel? Someone else might
Mm-hmm.
say, I want to see how those colors coordinate. There's no
Right.
actual one-line answer to this, but the answer,
Personal.
it's very personal, but it is a beautiful capacity of the human being to dignify what we have mentally. What we can do is to examine the external and to look at it and to enjoy it and to
Right.
imprint it. That's number one. Number two, the internal. If I'm going to be internally aware, I have to look in the mirror. Now, you and I, we've talked about this jokingly. Looking in the mirror in and of itself won't tell us very much. However,
Right.
what you do need to do is this. If you stand in front of a mirror, I'll use me as the example. If I'm shaving, I can see where I've been shaving. I can see where I have applied the shaving cream. I can see where I've actually brought the razor across I was going to say my beautiful face, but you're not going to agree with that in a hurry. So,
You're allowed. Absolutely, you can say that.
oh, well, I can because that's part of my self-awareness. It's a beautiful face. And you know something? I said that jokingly, but seriously, how many times does somebody say you look lovely today, or you look, very well dressed or something, and you immediately come up with some kind of excuse why you don't?
Mm-hmm.
No, if somebody says you look lovely today, as indeed you do, Sarah, that's all it
Yeah.
requires is a thank you and acknowledgement and bringing it into oneself. But what I really want to emphasize is this. If we're going to look at ourselves internally, this, for most of us, frankly, internal awareness is something that horrifies us because we immediately go to all the junk in our lives and the mess ups. That's a mistake. What we need to
Mm.
do is to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror. And if we don't have an effective mirror, find one. It's not very complicated. Finding a mirror can be your best friend or not your best friend. Your mirror can be somebody in my case, the Dignity Trust, which is this, as you know, the group of us who share ideas. It is the
Yes.
finest mirror on the market because people will come back with no offense given or taken, but they will explore ideas. Finding people that
Right.
you can explore your own ideas with is a wonderful way to holding up the mirror to oneself and understanding one's values. It's actually the old Greek expression gnoski se, which meant know thyself. In other ways, you hear it as be true to thyself, Shakespeare. The answer is, though, looking at yourself is you need to find out or to explore what makes a good mirror. Your mirror might be your spouse, your mirror might be one of your children. Children
Right.
are remarkable at telling you what's wrong with you and right with you. You know,
At any age.
At any age, exactly. It never stops. But just knowing that, having that center of influence and knowing where that center of influence is in that relationship that will allow us to see ourselves is incredibly valuable. I know, and I can hear myself thinking about this. Do I really want you to start nailing down all my faults? Not really. So, in that particular case, that is probably where I need to change mirrors. This is not ducking the issue of my deficiencies. It's merely putting it in front of me and saying, I also need to know what my strengths are, what people like about me, and so on. But with that comes the responsibility. Don't just tell me I'm a wonderful person. Yeah, tell me I speak too fast. Tell me I don't pay enough attention to other people,
No,
whatever it might be.
it's how the message is delivered,
Yeah, you've
right?
always said that.
We all know you can take, one approach or what it is that you're trying
Mhm.
to get across or that you'd like
Mm.
to share with somebody
Yeah,
or a group of people,
yeah,
and you can deliver it in two completely different manners.
yeah.
And the effectiveness of your message and how it is received
Hmm.
bears on how that message is delivered. So it's so
Absolutely.
important to be
Well,
aware of how you're articulating and how you're sharing it.
exactly. And aware of how it might sound to the other person.
Correct.
I mean, to be candid, to go and say to somebody who's, weeping and grieving, to say, you look lovely today, that is ridiculous.
Right.
So part of this is empathetic. It's drawing alongside. It's a comment we've made over
And
and
here
over
comes a
again.
whole other podcast we can do on emotional intelligence. As you know, that's one of my favorite topics, and yours.
Exactly. And I have to clarify one thing because emotional intelligence, I think, in your world and the subject of emotional, or the idea behind emotional intelligence is emotional awareness. Is that correct?
Part
It's
of
not
it. Part
intelligence in
it's
terms.
one component of it,
Exactly, but
but
it's
a
not
myriad of
intelligence.
these
Yeah.
5 components make up
Right.
your intelligence. What
Oh,
what
okay.
what would
That's how you're
be considered
looking
as
at it.
your
Okay.
EQI or your emotional
Right.
intelligence for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on, I've got three things that to bring up this whole business of external. We've talked about the external.
Mhm.
We talked about the internal, looking at oneself. And here are three techniques. One of them you've heard me say too many times, but here it is again. 25 things you like about you, write them down. Just
Reinforcement,
it is reinforcement, and you can do it as often as you like. 25 things you like about you. I got up in the
Mhm.
morning. Pretty nice. I'm alive. Pretty nice. I've got children. Pretty nice. You start thinking about what you like about you, that list gets quite long very quickly.
Mhm.
And it's a
Right.
beautiful expression of the human being. The journal, we've talked about this before, but to
Yes.
understand self awareness and indeed to understand other people's lives, the activity of journaling is very valuable. The
Mhm.
activity of writing down what I did today and what I feel about what I did today. And if you want to get really, really clever, when you find out what you felt about what you did today, one of the things to do is to find out what triggered the activity. Because if you
Mhm.
know what triggered the activity that in fact gave you pleasure, then you want to look for that trigger to repeat itself.
Or the why also as to
Yeah,
why did you feel that way?
exactly. You can explore it. It's fun doing it, and it's very non-threatening. As a matter of fact, it's the other way around. It's
Mhm.
expanding. It's beautiful. Um, Two other things, Sarah, that I find helpful. From a corporate point of view, awareness is absolutely fundamental. For the corporate executive, the business person to be aware of the employees is a proxy on being aware of your customers and your shareholders and your suppliers and all the other stakeholders. Awareness doesn't just stop at one door. It
Mhm.
goes to the door, it goes to the window, it goes to the pictures, it goes to the floor, it goes to the ceiling. It's everywhere. And it's an awareness. You know something? Have you ever been in that situation where you've been very aware of something, but for whatever reason you overlooked something?
Mm.
And when you overlook that something, it's usually that's the scorpion that comes and takes you off
Right.
the game. So being aware is it's a democratic process. It's panoramic, both externally and internally. Two things that are very helpful to this business of being aware. One of them is we've talked about how to help oneself, but two external things we can do, or external, but things that have external capacity. One is the activity of writing poetry. Poetry, and I know most people say, but I can't rhyme or I can't think of words or whatever. But just taking the most basic thing in front of you, the sunshine. Write a poem about the sunshine. Think about the rays of the sunshine. But as we explore ideas through the mechanism, through the platform of poetry, we find out a lot more about ourselves. It's very exciting.
Mm.
And the last thing, and this is actually as much corporate as anything, if I want to get self-awareness, and we all recognize the benefit of it, the benefit to fellow employees, the benefit to my family, the benefit to the shareholder and the customer, awareness is absolutely crucial. Can you imagine somebody comes into your store, they want something, and you're unaware of your customer?
Mm.
And you've had that feeling that you've walked into a store and nobody's paying attention to you?
Right.
No, it's not a good feeling. And one of the things with awareness that I think corporations need to do is to encourage and to allow people to take courses. And you quickly say, oh, you mean courses in your subject matter, in, productivity or compliance or whatever. Actually, I don't think that's correct. I think that when you take courses, the history of art, the anthropology of the Trojans, whatever you want to take, whenever we do that, we actually stimulate a way to learn and our ways to explore, to think about different things. It's very individual, very personal, but taking courses is, if I'm running the corporation, I would make it, I can't say mandatory, but I would want people to say, hey, go to your local college or your local university, take evening courses, take remote courses. Courses are invaluable to expanding
Mm.
one's total mindset. If you
And change
expand
your
your
perspective.
exactly, and if I change my perspective, got a far better chance of understanding and being aware of what's going on around me and also going on within me.
It might also induce some creativity
Absolutely.
where you didn't think
Yeah.
you could pull
Yeah.
from, right?
Springs it loose. Poetry is a very good example of that. As
Mm.
you know, I write a lot of poetry,
Right.
and I find as much as, we laugh about it, I don't know if you know this, but people call my poetry archaic drivel. Can you imagine?
Well, that's a shame for them.
Oh, it is a terrible shame. They shouldn't be talking that language. But
No.
what it amounts to seriously is, for me, the writing of the poetry is very edifying. And
Hmm.
you know something about writing poetry? It's a funny thing. You write something and, you file it or whatever you do with it. It's fascinating going back to it a year later.
Mm.
It's very warming. It's a wonderful human character, a human process.
Right. Right.
Anyway, Sarah, there it is. Awareness, awareness. And I didn't even give you the Latin etymology of the word, and I won't today. I'll spare you that.
I feel like that's a cliffhanger. I feel like, no, you need to. Maybe? No? Next episode.
It's also got the sense of awareness, has a sense of be cautious.
Mm.
Because
Okay.
if you think about it, it is, be
Be
careful.
aware of your
Yeah.
surroundings. If you
Yeah.
think about it in the
Yeah.
context, right?
So
Depends on.
why don't we be careful about ourselves and be careful about the other human being?
Mhm.
I rest my case.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Sarah.